Boom, ba-da-dum. Howdy, welcome to BanjoBenClark.com. I am Banjo Ben, your host here on the website to teach you how to play guitar, banjo. This week is Mandolin week. This is a huge lesson. We're doing a bag of licks lesson in E. We're going to learn some. If you had a 5-gallon bucket, that wouldn't be big enough to hold everything that I'm going to pour on you in this lesson. Okay, we're going to start off with a little theory, and I'm going to keep it very interesting. We're going to learn a few scales and how to derive these licks. And then we're going to learn a bunch of licks. Then we're going to learn how to put them together. More importantly, we're going to learn how to apply them to any song that you have in the key of E. Okay, so we're unlocking this key of E so that you're not scared of it anymore. E will stand for easy, okay, not irky. Well, maybe that doesn't start with E, but you know what I mean, okay? If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, here in a moment, I'll ask you to come over to the website, BanjoBenClark.com. You can join as a Gold Pick member, have access to all my lessons, banjo, mandolin, guitar. You can view all these videos, but you can also download all the tabs. I have the tabs for the scales that I'm going to teach you, as well as the tabs for the licks, exactly as I taught. And then we're going to learn 2 different combinations of solos. Then I have 3 different speeds of MP3 rhythm tracks. Let's jump right into this one. Now, we're going to spend a little bit of time. I won't bore you here, but we're going to spend a little bit of time on theory to start with. I want to show you 3 different scales that every one of these licks are derived from really just one scale. You know, you've heard me say probably that you really only need to learn one scale, the major scale. And every other scale is a variation on that. You either leave some notes out or you put some extra ones in, or you maybe raise or lower some notes a whole or a half step. Okay, but once we have that major scale, we have our mind wrapped around it. And I want to just briefly cover the E major scale first. Let's go ahead and pull up that tab. We're going to start on the lowest E note that we have here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I do have all those scale studies on the website, as well as that lesson on unlocking the mandolin neck, which makes a lot of sense for a lot of folks. But we're going to start there, and we're just going to follow our major scale pattern up. After 7 notes, we get there to the end of measure 2, we hit another root note. And those little root notes, which are the E notes, those are outlined in the box. And if we were to keep going up as far as we could in first position, measure 3, and then started coming back down, there's another root note, measure 5, and so we just played up an octave and a half and back down an octave and a half. And if we kept going down lower as far as the scale would let us go, we wouldn't hit another E note down there, but we could go down to a G sharp. Okay, and then we can. So you can just take that major scale. You know, this tab, you can print it out if you're a Gold Pick member. They're on the site. You can take that and just practice that E major scale if you want. Just feel what it feels like to play in E major. Now our next scale we're going to look at is the major pentatonic. This major pentatonic scale doesn't have any new notes that we didn't just play in the major scale. Matter of fact, what it does is it just pulls a couple out. It pulls out the 4th tone and it pulls out the 7th tone of the major scale, so that all you're playing is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th. I'm sorry, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th. Okay, so we'll start there on our root and play 1st. There's our root tone, our 2nd tone of the scale, our 3rd tone of the scale, our 5th, and our 6th, and then we're back to our root. Okay, so we're just kind of shrinking the major scale. And those just make some really good patterns that we're going to talk about later as we look at these licks. If we were to keep going up following that pattern, we'll go up to that B note, which is our 5th tone of the scale. Coming back down, measure 13. Okay, so, you know, this would sound familiar to you because let's say I'm in the key of G and I'm playing the G major pentatonic. That would be the G major pentatonic. Well, guess what? Famous lick is built off of that. Well, just the G run. That's all that is the major pentatonic scale. You see how nice that sounds. And so a lot of the licks are built around that. Now we're going to cover one more scale here, the blues scale. This one starts on an E, but it only has a few notes that are in common with the major scale. We're going to import a lot of minor notes in here. So we're going to lower some of these tones a half step is essentially what that means. And so this is a 6-note scale. A minor pentatonic would be a 5-note scale, but this is a blues scale. It's going to have 1 extra note. What's interesting is that all these notes here, just about all of them, are the same notes that you would get in a G major pentatonic, because G major is the relative major of E minor, which is what the blues scale is based out of. So we're importing a lot of those notes over from G major. But we're going to start here on our root, and then we're going up to the flat 3rd. That's a G note. Then we go up to the major 4th, flat 5th, major 5th, flat 7th, back to the root. You might just want to practice playing up that and back down. When you get up there, if we wanted to keep climbing, measure 21. Okay, so it's good just to kind of play through that scale, and we're going to build a lot of licks out of that. And you know, you can come up with all kinds of combinations, but here's a cool thing. You know, every one of these licks that we're going to play is going to be a mixture of these three scales. And so I want you to print off these scales, have it as a reference guide, because then whenever we look at these licks, I want you to be able to look at these scales and see where I got them, see how I got them. Because they're not going to come from just a single scale. I'm going to be blending these scales. We're going to use some major pentatonic tones. We're also going to borrow from the blues scale, and we're going to build those together to create these licks and learn how to put those licks together. Let's look at the first E lick now. All right, have you got your scale tabs printed out? Because we're going to look at these licks, and we're going to glance back and check out where we got them, because I don't want you to just learn where to put your fingers. I want you to learn, you know, where I got these things. But E lick number one, you know, is a 2-measure lick. It's going to start on this E note up here, and we're going to primarily stay in the major scale here. We are going to get outside the pentatonic scale a little bit, okay? But we're going to, the lick sounds like this. Okay. Now, you know, we have a first tone, third, fifth. Everything's still in the major until we get to measure 2. And then you'll notice this 3rd fret here, okay? That is, if you'll look back at your scale, that's in the blues scale. That's a minor 3rd tone, okay? So what's cool about that lick, measure 2, I want you to see what I'm doing there. I'm playing the major 3rd on the 4th fret, going down, and then coming back to the minor 3rd. So I'm just, you know, I'm working major 3rd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, minor 3rd. And that's going to be quite the theme throughout these licks over all these different keys. Now as we get to measure